To talk about human rights in Europe, we're joined by our very special guest, Alain Berset, Secretary General of the Council of Europe. Mr. Secretary General, it's the 75th anniversary of the European Convention on Human Rights, but is the convention still working in today's reality?
Very well. So even it's still working, and it's really important. This convention, 75 years. Just to recall, I mean, this court and with the convention is adjudicating on everyday basis as we speak now cases of violations of human rights. For example, in the context of the aggression of Russia on Ukraine. It's really important to have accountability, and it is the only international court based on the convention addressing this. That's underlined the importance of the convention and the court 75 years after the foundation of this convention.
But shouldn't the document be changed to better suit Europe's needs of the moment?
It's clear that, the convention and the court have always to follow what's happening on the continent. And in the last 75 years, it has been possible to make a strong evolution, addressing the challenges that we are witnessing today. Just for an example, the right to privacy was not the real issue as the convention was written 75 years ago. And then it became an important issue, and then it was possible to address this. But we need to address in the Council of Europe with the Committee of Ministers all political issues. We need to address migration. We need to address, all the challenges that we are witnessing right now. It is important to do so, but then always to recall that it is important to have those institutions at the international level to make sure that the convergence that we need on the European continent to be as strong as possible will continue to happen.
You mentioned migration, something Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk was talking about not that long ago. Let me quote the Polish Prime Minister. When these conventions and treaties were written, no one foresaw the situation we now have on the eastern border. No one anticipated hundreds of thousands of people wanting to cross the Mediterranean Sea to reach Europe. So you understand the Polish government's stance on the matter?
I understand that we need to be able to address all political issues. And, as this discussion started on migration earlier this year, I was very clear on two elements. The first is it is a bad idea to put the court under pressure. We are advocating, we are working for independent judiciaries. It is not to undermine this in Europe and our continent. But at the same time, I was also very clear, we need to be able to address all political issues. That means migration in the context of the Council of Europe. And we are doing so. By the way, we are doing so. We will be able very soon to have very important meetings at the ministerial level. And I can just invite Poland also to participate at this level and to make the job with us. We need to define together on which continent we want to live.
Precisely. In today's Europe, you have those who try to act in accordance with the European Convention on Human Rights, and those who regularly abuse human rights, like Russia. Therefore, should one side of the conflict be limited by legal regulations which the other side does not respect?
I mean, it is probably what we can also be proud about, what we achieved on this continent in the 75 last years. The Council of Europe was not founded just to be a nice club with member states. The Council of Europe has been founded just after the World War II, after this suffering, destruction, violence, war. Just for what? It has been founded exactly to make sure as possible that this will never happen again. It is exactly the premise that our forefathers made, and it's exactly what we need to deliver now. I'm not naive that countries like Russia and others are not delivering on this. It is certainly not a reason to do the same. It is the opposite is true. It is a reason to continue to make sure that to underline that we want to live not in a world dominated by violence, war, destruction, and force, but we want to live in a world dominated by the rule of law, democracy, and peace and dialogue. That's exactly what it's at stake, and it's exactly what the Council of Europe is doing.
Mr. Secretary General, the Council of Europe is working on creating a special or on launching a special tribunal for the crime of aggression against Ukraine. When exactly will it be established?
We are ready. I had the privilege to sign with President Zelensky an agreement on this in Strasbourg at the headquarters of the Council of Europe last June for the establishment of this tribunal. Now we are preparing all the legal framework and all the elements, and we will be ready. We just need the support of as much as countries, member states, and non-member states as possible to make it happen. I mean, we need the countries, we need the support of the countries to make it real, and we are working on this. But, you know, it is only the third pillar of accountability for Ukraine in this situation. The first pillar, I come back to this, is the European Convention on Human Rights, addressing, as I mentioned before, on everyday basis, cases of violations of human rights in context of the war in Ukraine. The second pillar is the register of damage, and we need to develop now the claims commission. And the third pillar is a special tribunal. And we are working really hard on this, but it will be effective from the moment where we have a strong support, and we have the support and the members and states joining the effort.
How many, or should I rephrase the question, who is not willing to join the tribunal?
No, for the moment, we have very good signals. You know, we have this so-called core group working on this the last 2 years, more than 40 countries, all the G7 members, and a lot of European countries working on this, more than 40 countries. And they adopted an agreement, and they asked us then to make all the, I would say, technical work to make possible the establishment of the tribunal. And I think, I'm strongly convinced that those group of countries will remain strongly committed. But now we need just to have this support and also to have the ratification then. I mean, it is different legal situations in different countries, but I'm sure where there is a will, there is also a way to make it real.
Is Hungary and Slovakia in this group?
No, all countries are in this group. I mean, all countries are following the group. We have more than 40 countries, but now, you know, it's not possible for me to say who will effectively join. We are doing our best at the highest possible level to have as much as possible members, countries, member states, and non-member states joining to make the tribunal effective as soon as possible. We are ready, but we are not able to do this without the strong support of the countries, and that's why we are working in this direction.
Mr. Secretary General, once the tribunal starts working, will Russian war criminals, or Russian abusers of human rights, I should be more precise here, will they be tried in absentia?
It is exactly the discussion that we need now to do, also preparing the tribunal. I mean, you know, the results of the core group. It was clear that it was a need to make some compromises to have an effective support for this tribunal, and we are working exactly on this base. But the negotiations for the agreement, they are to come.
And lastly, don't you feel like there's a general problem with human rights in Europe? As Russia advances in Ukraine, more and more countries have a slightly different approach to human rights than they used to have only like a decade ago. Now, it was Latvia last week that decided to quit the Istanbul Convention.
There is an ongoing discussion, the political discussion in Latvia exactly on this, and we will see what will happen in the end. But you're right. We witnessed in the last 30, 40 years a strong movement of convergence, I would say, you know, for more democracy, rule of law, and human rights. And since 15 years, more or less, we are witnessing the opposite, divergent forces in action. And it's exactly the challenge that we have now. What can we do to make sure that working transparently together, we will be able to create more convergence again? Why? Because what is now at stake, a bit more than 80 years after the end of the Second World War, is exactly to make sure that we will be able to remain strongly committed together to have democracies, to have societies based on democracy, on the rule of law, and on a strong protection for the human rights. I mean, I have predecessors. I've been able to develop this exactly for the benefits of our populations, of our companies, because there is no investment of the long term without to have stability. And this stability has been really extremely important for the continent. But now it's exactly what is at stake. We must be good. We must be able to do this together in the new world that needs also adapting to the new conditions that we are witnessing right now.
Alain Berset, Secretary General of the Council of Europe, was our guest tonight. Thank you so much.
I thank you.
And thank you for watching, and stay with us for more news and interviews here on TVP World.